Hey everyone, it is Kevin Henry, the editor in chief for drbicuspid.com. We put out an article earlier this week about Mythbusters whenever it comes to the DSO. And I wanted to bring the author of that article on to dive into one point that I found extremely fascinating. And I'm lucky enough that the author is also a dear friend of mine and a great colleague here in the dental industry, and that is Kim McCleskey. Hey, Kim, what's going on?
Hey, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me on Dr. Bicuspid.
I get to talk to you anytime. I'm thrilled. I mean, much less to do
I
it,
know.
in the work environment here. So,
I know.
fellow,
That's always fun.
it is, and a fellow Coloradan too. So that's always a good thing.
Yep.
So,
That's
hey,
right. Yeah.
but before we dive into this one point, Kim, let our audience know just a little bit more about you.
Sure. So, wow. Well, I kind of grew up in dentistry. Been here for 35 years now, almost 35 years. May it'll be 35. Um, done a variety of different things, from office manager to having my own company to finally landing in practice transitions.
Well, and the article you wrote about Mythbusters, the DSO, and again, we're going to link to it not only in this follow up article on Dr. Bicuspid, but as well as in the show notes if you're listening to this on our podcast. The one thing that jumped out to me, I've got a soft spot for those team members. That's something I always keep an eye
Absolutely.
out for.
Yep.
And whenever you said in the article that one of the myths is when a DSO takes over, they replace the office staff. This is
Mm-hmm.
something I've heard from a lot of team members about. They're nervous whenever that new
Right.
person or new entity comes in. But I kind of see it as an opportunity. And I think you do as well, judging from what you wrote in the
Mm-hmm.
article.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't always, I think that I was of the same mindset as so many team members when the practice I was in was being acquired. Um, I figured they're going to fire all of us because that's what we always thought we did. That was the assumption that they were going to come in, they were going to change everything, they were going to turn over all this staff, and we would be on the street looking for a job.
Yeah.
And I think maybe to some degree back then that may have been true. And of course, I'm super excited to talk about all the reasons why things have changed. But along those lines, that's one of the things that I think DSOs, whether they're ran by private equity, whether they're ran by a group of dentists, whatever the case may be, they understand that if they don't have a happy team that is secure and excited about the future, that their investment is going to be at risk.
Mm,
They're going to lose patients, right? Like there are a
yeah.
lot of things that are tied to that component of, employment, satisfaction. And so, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for all staff across the board, whether they're clinical hygienist assistants, whether they're in the front desk and they're really focused on insurance and they love insurance, and or that they really love leadership and operations. These groups are really finding pathways to utilize the skills and the knowledge that these team members have. And if you have a drive to do more, to learn more, to have more influence, they are so excited. And that's been my experience, I would say, in the last 4 years. Like, I have so many stories about just sort of the way that those things have rolled out.
Mhm.
And sometimes people may stay for a long time in those roles, or what it does is that it opens up the opportunity for so many other options, right? Like so many other areas of dentistry that they can expand into.
And one thing I hear from team members all the time, and again, as you said a minute ago, clinical and admin is the whole burnout
Yeah.
thing that we're dealing with right now.
Mhm.
And it feels like that this is an opportunity to maybe expand those boundaries to kind of get out of a lack of a better term rut and to
Yep.
see what really the opportunities are when this new entity takes over.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Like for me, back then, I was just excited for growth and for learning.
Mhm.
But I worked with a lot of folks that they were happy with just the job that they had to do every day. They were happy to come in and do a fine job. So I think that, there's security in that as well, for folks. But when you want something more and you feel like you're burned out
Yeah.
doing what you're doing, the same old thing, the idea of having an opportunity to learn more, share what you know, and live in a space of growth and advancement. I mean, that gets people excited. It got me excited, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and we're all looking for something a little different, something to, keep us going. So I'm really glad you
Yeah.
brought up this point in the article. And again, we're going to link back to it. Kim is going to be doing things for us throughout 2024 whenever it comes to kind of a peek behind the curtain on what is going on with DSOs. And I know you've got your finger on the pulse of that industry. So tell our readers, our listeners, where can they learn a little bit more about you and also connect with you if they have questions?
Yeah. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on our PTS website, or you can email me at kim@professionaltransition.com.
And again, we'll make sure to have all that in the show notes as well as the article if you're catching this on drbycuspid.com. Kim,
Great.
always love working with you and looking forward to all the amazing things you've got to share in 2024.
I'm excited. Here's to 2024.
Amen. And thanks to all of you for listening and watching this episode of this Dr. Bike, very short podcast, but wanted to make sure that we got this point across from what has been a really fascinating article and a lot of people have been reading it. So looking forward to talking to you soon. Kevin Henry, editor in chief, signing off, wishing you nothing but success ahead.